Thank you so very much, Sadia, for giving us this opportunity. Well, welcome to the Feminine Perspective in Poetry, sponsored by the Elgin Poet Laureate Project in conjunction with Gail Borden Public Library. I am Gareth Mann Sitz, Elgin's current Poet Laureate. Tonight's program has two parts. The first section is a collection of poems by well-established poets, while the second part of our program gives you the opportunity to hear local poets share their work. I will begin the program with a sonnet by Edna St. Vincent Malay. When I was young, I used to carry around a paperback book, which was the complete collection of her sonnets. The one I'm going to read for you now is one of my all-time favorites. It's Time Does Not Bring Relief. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied, who told me time would ease me of my pain. I miss him in the weeping of the rain. I want him at the shrinking of the tide. The old snows melt from every mountainside, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane. But last year's bitter loving must remain heaped on my heart, and my old thoughts abide. There are 100 places where I fear to go, so with his memory they brim. And entering with relief some quiet place where never fell his foot or shone his face, I say, there is no memory of him here, and so stand stricken, so remembering him. Barbara Evans is our next reader. She is a lifelong poetry connoisseur who developed a course called Poetry for Enjoyment when she taught English at Larkin High School. Well, I was thrilled that it was in the official U46 curriculum. And when I went over to open the New Streamwood High School English department, I happily used Barbara's Poetry for Enjoyment curriculum. Here's Barbara.
Thanks, Gareth. Some Western territories gave women the right to vote, though not in presidential elections, before the 19th Amendment was passed in 1920. Thus, the first woman to vote in America was Sarah Young Ford, a young school teacher who cast her vote in the territory of Utah in 1870. Little else is known about her, so her personal details and thoughts in the poem I'm going to read are imagined. Factual, however, is the freedom that Shoshone women in the territory enjoy. So too is what happened to Seraph's right to vote. Wild Horses by Paisley Reckdahl. I am known, if at all, for a moment's pride, the first American woman in the modern nation to vote, though at the time I wasn't considered American by all, but Mormon, one the East Coast suffragists had hoped would vote Utah's scourge of polygamy out. But plural marriage was on no ballot I ever saw. Why would it be when men make laws and shape their women's choice and freedoms, my mother asked. And how changeable those freedoms are denied or given certain women, my mother knew. She, who saw a Shoshone woman one day selling ponies from a stall, who watched, amazed, her pocket all the earnings without a husband's permission. My mother, who never sold an apple without my father's say-so. The Indian woman scoffed at her astonishment. I wouldn't be a white girl for all the horses in the world. I married young to an older man who believed, like certain stiff-backed politicians, that to join the Union, Utah must acculturate, scrub off the oddities and freedoms of its difference, our secrecy and marriage customs, and then my woman's right to vote. all gone for us to join the modern state. And so perhaps I might be known for what I've lost, a right, a home. And now my mother, who died the year we moved back east. How fragile indeed our rights and hopes, how unstable the powers to which we grow attached. My husband now can barely leave his bed. When he dies, I'll move back west to where my mother's buried and buy some land with the money that she left. To me alone, she who loved me wrote. And so for love of her, I'll buy a house and marble headstone and fill my land with horses.
Lovely, Barbara. Now, Ivory Hare. She has been a regular participant in my monthly poetry writing group here at Gail Borden. I was delighted when she agreed to read 2 poems by Nikki Giovanni, Legacies and Mothers.
Hello, everyone. Mothers by Nikki Giovanni. The last time I was home to see my mother, we kissed, exchanged pleasantries and unpleasantries, poured the warm comfort and silence around us, and read separate books. I remember the first time I constantly saw her. We were living in a 3-room apartment on Burns Avenue. Mommy always sat in the dark. I don't know how I know, but she did. That night, I stumbled into the kitchen. Maybe because I've always been a night person, or perhaps because I had wet the bed. She was sitting on a chair. The room was bathed in moonlight, diffused through. Those thousands of panes landlords who rented to people with children were prone to put windows. She may have been smoking, but maybe not. Her hair, 3/4 her height, which made me a strong believer in the Samson myth, and very black. I'm sure I just hung there by the door. I remember thinking, what a beautiful lady. She was very deliberately waiting, perhaps for my father to come home from his night job, or maybe for a dream that had promised to come. Come here, she said, I'll teach you a poem. I see the moon sees me. God bless the moon, and God bless me. I thought to my son, who recited it for her, just to say we must learn to bear the pleasures as we have borne the pains. Legacies. Her grandmother called her from the playground. Yes, ma'am. I want you to learn how to make rolls, said the old lady proudly. But the little girl didn't want to learn how, because she knew, even if she couldn't say that, that would mean when the old one died, she would be less dependent on her spirit. So she said, I don't want to know how to make no rolls with a mouth poked out. And the old woman wiped her hands on her apron, saying, Lord, these children. And neither of them ever said what they meant. I guess nobody ever does.
Thank you so much, Ivory. Very beautifully done. Joy Winterbang is a former actress who has only recently discovered her love of poetry and her ability to write poems of her own. The first poem she will be reading is The Archaeologists by Julia Shipley. but she has to unmute.
I had to read this many times to figure out what was going on, and I decided it was like the Triangle Shirt Factory fire. That's the only perspective I could finally understand this poem.
Mhm.
Found pins by the millions while meticulously stripping a portion of Manhattan, worked over by women who mended between appointments. The harlot's artifacts included extracts of old wax paper wrappers filled with pin after pin. Imagine all 16ths spilled from the inch ruler. Imagine each a single stroke of tin. Each one fell stroke in a ledger. Less than a cent of metal, total, a dowry. Her nicks of time, dropped stitches, poke-throughs, taken in. How each man may have fit against the satin hem of her memory.
Thank you. Beautifully done. Tish Powell is well known in the Elgin community. She serves on the city council and is a member of the Elgin Cultural Arts Commission. She will be reading A Woman Speaks by Audre Lorde.
Thank you, Gareth. Audre Lorde is a self-described Black lesbian, mother, warrior, and poet. And she dedicated both her life and her creative talent to confronting and addressing injustices of racism, sexism, classism, and homophobia in her work during the 1960s all the way through 1990s. And lo and behold, she served as the Poet Laureate of New York from 1991 to 1992. So we have several poet laureates that are being represented tonight. And she died in 1992 at the age of 58. A Woman Speaks. Moon marked and touched by sun, my magic is unwritten. But when the sea turns back, it will leave my shape behind. I seek no favor, untouched by blood, unrelenting as the curve of love, permanent as my errors or my pride. I do not mix love with pity, nor hate with scorn. And if you would know me, look into the entrails of Uranus where the restless oceans pound. I do not dwell within my birth, nor my divinities, who am ageless and half grown and still seeking my sisters. Witches in Dahomey wear me inside their coiled cloths as our mother did, mourning. I have been woman for a long time. Beware my smile. I am treacherous with old magic, and the moon's new fury with all your wide futures promised. I am woman and not white.
Thank you. Beautifully read. This is a poem with which I can identify. It's called Poet as Housewife, and it's by Elizabeth Ibers, translated from the Afrikaans by Jacqueline Pope. Always a broom leaned against a wall. Meals never on time if they come at all. Days without dates through which she moves, empty and stubborn, slightly confused. Ironing hung dejectedly over a chair. Gestures that come from who knows where. Old letters unanswered, piled together. Papers and pills stuffed deep in a drawer. Thankful to be part of your heart's great whole, yet devoted to the limits of her own small skull. Oh, orderly biped, take heed. Leave her alone. Let her read. Now for another poem read by Joy Winterbang, Women Whose Lives Are Food, Men Whose Lives Are Money by Joyce Carol Oates.
Unmute. Mid-morning Monday, she's staring peacefully as the rain that in the shallow backyard. She wears flannel bedroom slippers. She is sipping coffee. She is thinking, gazing at the weedy, bumpy yard, at the faces beginning to take shape in the wavy mud, in the linoleum where the floorboards assert themselves. Women whose lives are food, breaking eggs, scraping garbage from the plates, unpacking groceries, hand over hand. Wednesday evening, he takes the cans out front, tough plastic with detachable lids. Thursday morning, the garbage truck whining at 7. Friday, the shopping mall open till 9, bags of groceries unpacked, hand over certain hand. Men whose lives are money, time and a half Saturdays, the lunch bag folded with care and brought back home and unfolded Monday morning. Women whose lives are food because they're not punch carded, because they are unclocked, sighing, glad to be alone, staring into the yard, mid-morning, midweek. By mid-afternoon, everything's forgotten. And then there are long evenings, panel discussions on abortions, fashions, meaningful work. There are love scenes where people mouth passions, sprightly, handsome, silly, manic, in close-ups revealed ageless. The women whose lives are food, the men whose lives are money.
Thank you so much, Joy.
It's not done.
Oh, I'm
I'm-
sorry.
Oh.
Stop.
The
Forgive
women
me.
whose lives are food and the men whose lives are money, they fidget as these strangers embrace and weep and misunderstand and forgive and die and weep and embrace. And the viewers stare and fidget and sigh and begin yawning around 10:30. Never made it past midnight, even on Saturdays, watching their braven selves perform. Where are the promised revelations? Why have they been shown so many times? Long-limbed children, 1,000 miles to the west, hitchhiking in spring, burnt bronze in summer, thumbs nagging, eyes pleading, give us a ride, give us a ride. And when they return, nothing's changed. The linoleum looks older, the Hawaiian chicken is new, the girls wash their hair more often, the boys skip over the puddles in the GM parking lot. No one eyes them with envy. Their mothers stoop. The oven doors settle with a thump. The dishes are rinsed and stacked. And by mid-morning, the house is quiet. It's raining out back, or not raining. The relief of emptiness reigns, simple, terrible, routine, at peace.
Forgive me for stopping you in the middle. I am very sorry. You ready?
Forgive me for having to turn pages. I should have memorized it.
Okay, that's okay. It is a long poem, but I think it's a good one and you did a really lovely job on it.
you.
The next poem will be read by Tish Powell. It is Homage to My Hips by Lucille Clifton. And I think she needs to unmute also. There we go.
Sorry, we've been doing Zoom for 2 years now. You would think we'd have it right by now.
We do our best.
Just a few words about Lucille Clifton. She was a prolific and award-winning Black American poet, writer, and educator whose work emphasized endurance, strength, and through adversity, focusing particularly on the African American experience and family life. She was discovered as a poet by none other than the Langston Hughes, who actually published her poetry in his highly influential anthology, The Poetry of the Negro, published in 1970. She also served as a poet laureate for the state of Maryland from 1979 to 1985, and she died in 2010. Homage to my hips. These hips are big hips. They need space to move around in. They don't fit into little petty places. These hips are free hips. They don't like to be held back. These hips have never been enslaved. They go where they want to go. They do what they want to do. These hips are mighty hips. I have known them to put a spell on a man and spin him like a top.
Great. Another one of my favorites. Barbara Evans will share the next poem.
Thanks. Although never a refugee herself, after interviewing many, Warsan Shire wrote this poem. Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running, as well as your neighbors running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats, and the boy you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then, you carried the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you wouldn't be going back. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled mean something more than a journey. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison, because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it. No one could stomach it. No one's skin would be tough enough. The go home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers sucking our country dry, niggas with their hands out. They smell strange, savage. Messed up their country and now they want to mess ours up? How do the words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off? Or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs? Or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your body in pieces? I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore, unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through oceans, drown, save, be hungry, beg, forget pride, your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here.
Wow, very powerful, Barbara. Barbara came this morning to my house and said, I need to change my poem. And I'm so very glad that you did. It's beautiful and unfortunately very apropos at this time. Here's Joy Winterbang reading The Applicant by Sylvia Plath.
Whew, now for something entirely different. I'm verklempt. I'm sorry, Barbara, you did a great job. I have to refocus. The Applicant by Sylvia Plath. First, are you our sort of person? Do you wear a glass eye, false teeth, or a crutch? A brace, a hook, rubber breasts, a rubber crotch? Stitches to show something's missing? No, no. Well, then how can we give you a thing? Stop crying. Open your hand. Empty? Well, here is a hand to fill it and willing to bring teacups and roll away your headaches and do whatever you tell. Will you marry it? It's guaranteed to thumb shut your eyes at the end and then dissolve into sorrow. We make new stock from the salt. I notice you're stark naked. How about this suit? Black and stiff, but not a bad fit. Will you marry it? It's waterproof, it's shatterproof, proof against fire and bombs through the roof. Believe me, they'll bury you in it. Now your head, excuse me, is empty, but I have the ticket for that. Come here, sweetie, out of the closet. Well, what do you think of that? Naked as paper to start. But in 25 years, she'll be silver. In 50, gold, a living doll. Everywhere you look, it can sew, it can cook, it can talk, talk, talk. It works, there's nothing wrong with it. You have a hole, it's a poultice. You have an eye, it's an image. My boy, it's your last resort. Will you marry it, marry it, marry it?
Thank you, Joy. Nice contrast to what we heard before. I'm very glad. Helps us refocus a little bit, as you said. Now we're going to hear again from Tish Powell, who's going to read Won't You Be My Sister by Amanda Gorman.
Thank you. For those who don't know who Amanda Gorman is, she is a self-described wordsmith and changemaker whose work focuses on issues of oppression, feminism, race, marginalization, and the African diaspora. This Los Angeles native and Harvard University grad captivated all of us when she read her poem, The Hill We Climb, at the presidential inauguration in 2021. Miss Gorman was, of course, the very first person named to be the National Youth Poet Laureate in 2017 at the ripe young age of 19. So I'm going to read Won't You Be My Sister by Amanda Gorman. Mark me a ripple, make me a piercing drop, a froth at the lip of a wave, just so I can be but a note in the roar of this cresting ocean. Name me breath, know me as air, dancing nude in the treetops, just so I can be but a sigh in the cry of this changing wind. Call me heat, claim me red, a flash, writhing in fervor, just so I can be but a spark in the pulse of a newborn flame. Hear me as woman, have me as your sister, on purpled battlefield breaking day, so I might say our victory is just beginning. That you and I are women, no longer trying to woo men, holding the truth to be self-evident that all genders are created equal. See me as change. Say I am movement, that I am the year and I am the era of the women.
Another powerful poem. That's one that Tish selected, and I'm so glad that she did. Margaret Frish Klein serves as the rabbi at Congregation Knesset Israel in Elgin. She has a passion for writing and has a blog called The Energizer Rabbi. Her poetry reflects her talent as well as her strong faith. For this part of the program, she will be reading We All Stood Together by Merle Feld.
We All Stood Together is a poem dedicated to Rachel Adler, who is a preeminent Bible scholar. This is what she wrote. My brother and I were at Sinai. He kept a journal of what he saw, of what he heard, of what it all meant to him. I wish I had such a record of what happened to me there. It seems like every time I want to write, I can't. I'm always holding a baby, one of my own, or one for a friend, always holding a baby, so my hands are never free to write things down. And then as time passes, the particulars, the hard data, the who, what, when, where, why, slip away from me, and all I'm left with is the feeling. But feelings are just sounds, the vowel barking of a mute. My brother is so sure of what he heard. After all, he has a record of it, consonant after consonant after consonant. If we remembered it together, we could recreate holy time, sparks flying.
Thank you. Risa Jones is a beloved member of the Elgin community, sharing her talents with young people in her programs for Hamilton Wings. Her beautiful singing voice and electric onstage personality have made her sought after as a performer throughout the Fox Valley. She will close this part of our program with a poem by Maya Angelou, Phenomenal Woman.
Thank you, Gareth. Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built a suit, a fashion model size, but when I try to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms and the span of my hips, the stride of my step and the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please. And to a man, the fellas stand or fall to their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's in the fire of my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back and the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts and the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels and the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, and the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me.
Very good way to end our first section. Thank you so much, Risa. I know your time is precious and we're delighted that you gave it to us. I will begin the second part of our program with a few of my own poems. The first one is entitled In Their Footsteps. When I was young, I would read poems, seeking solace as magic words touched my spirit. I never tried to write my own poems, but I read them, loved them. And sometimes when I was lucky, a poet reached my soul. Now, reading poems without fail makes me want to write them, not to compete with poets of the past, not to batter Anne's barrage or stifle Sylvia's memory or trample over Amy's perfect flowers. No, not to be better than they or even as good, but simply to pour my own potion upon the page, hoping to help someone somewhere reach her soul. When I was young, I struggled with infertility, and this is a poem that I wrote long time ago. My fertile mind cannot seed my barren womb, dead to its procreative purpose. Poems penetrate where sperm wither, sprouting around me like weeds, multiplying like rabbits. 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to participate in the Elgin Literary Festival, and I wrote this one, In Due Season. Once I pined with an empty womb, tear-stained pillow, red-eyed mornings, month after month fruitless. Months of longing became years, motherhood the brass ring beyond my grasp. Would I ever have children? Honeymoon baby to a virgin bride, believing the myth of instant pregnancy, leaving with warnings to remain chaste until marriage. A modern woman, complete with science preventing pregnancy, never questioning conceiving with ease. It was not my destiny to be a young mother, but ripened in my 30s, one adoption, then 2 pregnancies graced my life. Waiting and longing washed away in a sea of gratitude, leaving me dancing in the waves. This is a poem that's a fun one. I wrote it last week, and it reflects my mother's parenting style and my affinity for Shel Silverstein. I have a poem in my pocket. I wrote it yesterday in the restaurant on a napkin, for I just couldn't wait. Words tapped me on the shoulder and creeped inside my head. They told me, oh, so loudly, they needed to be said. So while others ate their burgers, a napkin was my friend. I scribbled so intensely, I almost broke my pen. My mother sat there smiling with doting mother's eyes. She didn't say a single word, just sat and ate her pie. You have a poem in your pocket, she said when we got home. I didn't mean to be rude. I just had to write my poem. Ah, my precious daughter, rude you'll never be. You were born a writer. Please read your words to me. Now for Joy Wenner, Bang, sharing her poems. Are you muted? You're muted.
Now I'm unmuted now. Yes.
Okay, okay, go.
This one I entitled my pandemic poem. I touched my spring clothes this morning. The pink sweater set that hung pressed against the tan. Underneath, short sleeved, a cardigan atop if the March winds should bite. A shirt of yellow dotted Swiss, forgotten about, but born again like the sound of music, and worn again, a rerun, paired with, are those shorts or pedal pushers? And will people soon be pedaling down lanes? And will we hold hands, those of us left to couple? Will we walk two abreast, hardly inches apart along paths of hope? I touched my spring clothes this morning, the white filmy blouse that I had on the day the virus took my best friend.
We've been through that, haven't we all?
And then another kind of, this one I titled A Poem After Frank. There are fish on my window ledge. There's a loon on my porch. Wooden reminders of his tastes, very Minnesotan. Wooden reminders of just how good his taste was. The plaid shirt I wear was his. The socks on my feet, his. All that's mine are images and scents, hollow places that echo of him. Well, if this be morning, I long for a new morning. Sadness is heavy and paralyzing. My lover would not want this for me.
Thank you, Joy. Full of emotion. Laura Robertson is a small business owner in Elgin, to whom I was recently introduced by Tish Powell. It's a pleasure to welcome her to our community of poets.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, guys. It's amazing. I gotta wipe my tears before I start reading my own. Thank you, Joy. That was beautiful. The poem that I selected was one of my own poem, one and only poem I've ever written. And this came straight from the heart. As a single mom, 20-something years ago, I had just recently divorced and moved in with my parents, tossing and turning. I don't like to write. English is my second language. And so this was something that came out of me that night. I wrote it all on paper, and towards the end of it, I was lost, and I looked up and saw the Bible. And as I opened the Bible is where I got the very last part of this poem. Took it to work the very next day, and my boss at the time, I worked at the Chase Card Center, and my boss at the time read it, and she had tears in her eyes, boohooed, and 3 other ladies also cried. I said, this poem is a ministry, because it came straight from God, because I did not write this poem, because I am not a writer. However, I'm so excited to share this with you, because I haven't pulled it out in some years. So it's called Single Parenthood. You'll never know the pain, the struggles of single parenthood till it happens to you. I never thought that I would until I became a single mother of 2. Sleepless nights, but without a fight, you can't make it through. And as you're on your knees begging, Lord, please, why did this happen to me? Are you there? Do you still care? How long will it be before I get back my sanity? Through my crying days, my children would say, Mommy, are you okay? What should I say? What should I say when they ask, why is Daddy away, Mommy? When will he come back? What day? When will he see that I need him with me? Not just season to season. Mommy, give me a reason. Why is my daddy away? As they hear me crying, I'm spiritually dying. Lord, there has to be a way. Through the pain and misery, a soft voice speaks inside of me. Rest and you shall see. I have not left nor forsaken thee. Rest, my dear, and you will hear that I am the answer to all of your fears. I'm your strength, your hope, your mentor. I'm the one you run to. I am your protector. I am your way out of nowhere. Just call my name and I will be there. Wipe away your tears and take my hands. Have faith in me and I will show you that I am the missing man.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Can't believe it's your only poem. We've got to get you writing some more. Our next poet is Catherine Long. Kathy was a teacher at Illinois Park School for 27 years and a busy volunteer in Elgin until she retired to West Dundee. She now has time and enjoys writing poetry and memoirs. I was delighted when she started coming to my poetry group at the library. Take it away, Kathy.
Thank you. This is from a mother and a grandmother. Okay, am I ready? Yeah. Can I care too much? Can I love too much till it hurts both you and me? Do I hold too tight? Do I squeeze the trust and love pressed till the listening subsides? It's not the words I utter, it's the love that lies behind. Believe me when I say, I don't mean to be a bother. I'm just reaching out to rescue. Forgive me if I love too much. I don't intend to meddle. My advice may be too seasoned, out of touch or past its prime. When you tell me you are hurting, are you asking me to listen? Just be there. Don't ask me to change. I don't mean to be a bother. I'm just reaching out to rescue. Forgive me if I love too much. But virtue has no season. Values do not fade. Reason isn't out of date. There's still time for work and wonder, dreams of wanderlust, and fun will be there when you're finished sorting out. I don't mean to be a bother. I'm just reaching out to rescue. Forgive me if I love too much. And this one is written for my brother, whose wife has Alzheimer's. Her thoughts aloft in the air, in the wind, out into the heavens, floating hither and yon, not to be rescued, not to be woven into sentences, not to be gathered into meaning, not for our understanding. Names are no longer necessary. It's for ourselves that we remind her. Just love her. Cherish her beautiful smile, her gentle touch. Treasure her smooth whispered voice, the violet of her eyes. Enjoy the breeze playing with her hair, the sunlight glancing off her face. Reach out for the comfort of her hand. Your heart-to-heart connection is sealed with years of comfort and caring, hours of sharing the wonder of an idea. Your mutual admiration, genuine respect, and deep affection are the fabric of your lives. Just love her. Tears and sadness are ours to bear, hers tucked deep inside. Although hidden from her words, the colors bloom within. She remains gracious, she is peaceful, she is beauty. Just love her. And then this one is the daughter of my daughters. The daughters of my daughter, 3 daughters of my daughter. There we go. Dare to dream so big that nothing makes your idea seem small. Speak out so your voice can be heard. Shout if you must. May it be your choice to be out of the kitchen or in it. May no glass ceiling restrict your rise to earn dollar for dollar. Know you are able and equal. May your body and heart be safe and secure on a bus, in the office, and at home. May your heart catch on fire when you find your love, someone to go where you go. Be together at the table. Be friends for the journey. This is my prayer for you. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lots of family love there, Kathy.
Thank you.
You know, beautiful. They're lucky to have you write for them.
Thank you.
Now for Barbara Evans, sharing a poem by a former student.
Yeah, speaking of young women, Chris Morocco was a student of mine at Larkin High School years ago. Her poems often appeared in our school's literary magazine. This one, which borrows its title from Shakespeare, is my favorite. There is no greater fury than a woman scorned. Once, when I wore undershirts and blue bubblegum bubbles and never combed my hair, except maybe on Sundays, and boys were cowboy friends of my brother, but I was the chief of a wild Indian tribe, my mother said, "You're a young lady now. You must take care and watch out for boys, because they'll use you if you give them the chance." A few years later, I threw away my feathers and polished my nails instead, and was careful, oh, so careful, and was afraid to even let a boy kiss me because it could go too far. Until just once, when love was a cloud I wandered through. Naked, I forgot my mother's directions. Lost, I found a breathless, singing oneness together with him in the fairyland mist. But when the sun came out and burned away the fog, I was left standing alone, foolishly bare, blushing. Quickly, I put on a suit of armor. Then you loved me, and I liked you. You needed me, and sometimes you to help fill the hollows of my mind and body. But I had other dragons to kill, and I rode away happier as you watched me go sadder. I guess your mother forgot to tell you. Watch out for girls on white chargers. They'll use you if they get hurt.
Boy, I would like to meet that young poet.
I wish I knew where she was, but I don't.
Yeah, I'd snap her up. Thank you so much for sharing that poem. It's wonderful. Marcia Gutierrez has been a regular member of the Gail Borden Library Poetry Writing Group for several years. She's a photographer, textile artist, and a bilingual storyteller. Marcia first came to a session of our poetry writing group because she hoped to connect poets with artists for an exhibition at the Elgin Art Space Lofts. She wound up enjoying her time with us and began to attend every month. Happily surprised, she developed into a poet.
Thank you, Gareth. This one I dedicate to my mother. It's called The Beginning of the End. Thunder rolls in the distant horizon. Gentle summer rain falls. Grandmother and mom would tell me when I was a child that the thunder was God bowling and the rain came from the angel's tears when God lost. This is a gentle rain. I guess he didn't lose by much. Back in my memory, nuns giggle. It is raining hard as it does in Costa Rica. I told the sisters the story of God bowling. They giggle as they look out at the rain. My guess is that they enjoyed the tale. The power of age. Silver light of a full-faced moon shines down upon me. Cold warmth surrounds me. There is an energy, a power that it leaves in filigrees of fine silver to be discovered. The woman's secret society. Don't ask me why I choose to have only one child. Don't give me your opinion on the only child. Obviously, you don't belong to the women's secret society. Unfortunately, I do. Sure, many women of this society have more than one child, yet some never experience the pleasure of motherhood, only the pain. As I tell others, todo está en las manos de Dios. All is in God's hands. And this one is about my daughter. My beautiful daughter with the fuzzy short hair. You change like a chameleon. Long red tresses, deep black and thick that end in a curl. Shiny, oily black, pushed back in a ducktail or flipped from front to back. Sharp yellow blonde with bangs. Powder blue that ends in a bun. Red and stiff and pointed in all directions. With each change your features and eyes mystically conform to the character you perform.
I've met that lovely young lady.
I am. What? I am curious about life. I am forever experimenting, searching, learning, creating. I am reinventing myself. I am forever not complete.
Another one of Marcia's good short poems. I always get very, I don't know, jealous when people can do that, say a lot in few words. Let's see, it's Ivory's next. Yeah, Ivory Hair will now share one of her poems. It was deeply appreciated by her fellow poets at our poetry writing group.
Hi. I wrote this a few years back one night. I was lonely. I had nothing to do. I have one son and I help raise my two nephews. And I couldn't believe that they were all out and about on a Friday night. And so, yeah, here we go. It's called Three Little Men. Oh, I remember the days when all they wanted to do was play. Trains, cars, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. Those days were priceless. All three connected to my hip, whether it's to go to the bathroom, to the store, or a Chicago train trip. When they loved Chuck E. Cheese and never wanted to leave me. Trick-or-treating on Halloween. I love buffets because the boys would eat free. Loving how easy it was to keep them satisfied. What's going on? Nothing. Let's go to the park. Cookies and fruit snacks. Man, I wish I could get those days back. The days when they could talk nonstop to me about everything. Damn, really annoyed me. But now, no words. They're all teenagers attached to their phones. Out with their friends. Damn, I'm alone. Never thought my boys would be little men. How? What? When? It happened too fast. I wish I could go back to then, my babies. Now they're gone. They're little men. I love them now and I love them then. Xavier, Billy, Jalen, my little men, my 3 little men.
Right from the heart, Ivory. Every mom can identify with that one.
Mhm.
B. Davis was recently introduced to me through Tish Powell. I am delighted to have her join us today, and I hope I will soon see her at our monthly poetry writing group at Gail Borden Public Library.
Yes. She is me. Governed by men, we're encouraged to be meek. Well, I found power in the silence, learned why the caged bird sings. I discovered self-expression and why they limit such a thing. When I fell in love with poetry, it sparked a fire you wouldn't believe. Now I process with rhyme and rhythm, let my feelings fill page after page. Limericks, odes, and sonnets help me free myself from rage. My words heal the hurt, now they control the pain. I scribe my own cure, then sign my own name. I seek shelter in the form, take respite in her lines. Consume what came before me, let their beauty inspire mine. You see, I am every woman. Her story lives through what I read. May our words smash the patriarchy. In poetry, she's the language that we speak. I just recently started sharing my poetry with the public, even though I have been writing since about the 3rd grade. And I think I wrote this one about a year ago when I realized that, you know, just gotta love yourself and do what you love.
Sounds good.
I wonder if she knows that her spirit is one coveted. She must. It's rare to possess a spirit so pure, and for all our sakes, I hope she knows. The divine purpose by which she's driven is evident in all she shares. Conditioned to mirror socially acceptable behaviors and reactions, yet she unabashedly allows true emotions to bubble over, often. Whether she's laughing too loudly in line at the bank or crying in the aisles of Hobby Lobby, again. She doesn't seem capable of masking her feelings, such big, big feelings. Even more admirable is even if she were capable of such a feat, I do not believe she would. Her spirit vibrates on a frequency not typical in people of our time. Social media has altered our perception of what it means to be a free spirit. Free spiritness is more than just being high and carefree. She cares a lot. She worries, she loves, she hurts, she hopes, and she expresses it all. No matter how relentlessly this world tries to impose dangerous, outdated ideas of normalcy, she can be depended on to remain genuine. The fact that all the evils with which she's faced have failed to diminish her luminous is miraculous. On several occasions, she has pieced herself together after being physically and emotionally annihilated, yet her spirit remains unbroken. Toe to toe, she danced with demons of her own creation. Still, in the midst of her darkest days, she managed to motivate and inspire others, always others. She cries and hearts break. She smiles and the sun shines a tad brighter. She laughs and the world is a better place. My world is a better place. If only this beautifully spirited woman would give herself one drop of the consideration and grace she so willingly gives others, we would be unstoppable. I wish you could see the potential, the power, the abundance within her reach if she'd only accept that she is no imposter, but worthy of every bit of good she has already and is bound to soon receive plus some. Look at me, damn it. We're perfect. Signed, Your Reflection.
Awesome. Thank you. Gabby Vargas is another newcomer introduced to me via Tish Powell. Gabby is passionate about mental health and reaches out to help young people in Elgin through her podcasts and YouTube presence. She has a studio in downtown Elgin where she produces her videos and has drumming circles.
Thank you, Gareth. Also, my first poem ever written. I thank Tish for the invitation. My mission, I say at the end of the day, is suicide prevention. And this is where this poem came about from my story and the story of many women out there. So I hope this gives someone a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much for the opportunity and invitation. Your eyes are the window to your soul, they said. So it was there that I searched for answers. If my eyes could connect with my soul, maybe they could finally tell me why. It was a silent black, surrounded by a vibrant green that spoke nothing back. As I searched in the never-ending darkness of the pupils in my eyes, leaving me nowhere other than the same place I wanted to leave so badly. I would stare at myself in the mirror for hours without end. Why are you here? My biggest battle was one that was silent, silently taking me away from my dreams, the thought of living this life daunting. I was there once and many times, broken, abused, torn apart, told why I was not good enough, abandoned, submerged in shame, feeling hopeless. And then metamorphosis. Pain redefined, cracks bonded with gold like kintsugi art, learning to embrace the brokenness, accepting my flaws, loving every imperfection that came along with them. It is then when full potential was realized. And here I am, learning to fly without wings in the places I was scared to exist, like a fragile butterfly, ready to soar in the limitless sky because I was made for this. Making every piece of who I am count unapologetically, for each piece is part of the unique design that makes me priceless. A canvas painted with grace, patience, and love, the epic poem of my life, a piece of art, one of a kind, choosing to gaze upon its beauty despite how long it could take to complete. Yes, a work in progress, no doubt, yet a beautiful masterpiece at the same time. Fearless, purposefully, and wonderfully made. I am poema, you are poema.
Thank you, Gabby. Another person I want to see the first Monday of the month.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together.
Elizabeth King loves to write poetry and has written her first children's book. She works full-time for a Fortune 500 company, advocates for special needs, and has raised 2 children.
Thank you, Gareth. I'm just really pleased to be here tonight. My first poem is called Looking, Hoping, Learning. Life as a woman is a series of over-the-shoulder glances, looking to see if your children are with you, if you're being followed, if your work is being stolen, if your abuser is tracking you, if your neighbors are looking down on you, if your mother is disappointed in you, if your sister is battling the same demons, if your daughter is fighting the same issues. Life as a woman is a series of progressive moments, hoping to see your foot in the door, your paycheck inching upwards, your bosses respect you, your sister promoted, your mother relieved, your grandmother gratified, your daughter better off than you were, your collective crack in the glass ceiling expanding. Life as a woman is a series of unfolding realizations, learning that your coworker is your spiritual sister. Other women are not your enemy. Your children can have a better future. Others will not fight for you if you don't fight for yourself. Your talents are required. Other opportunities exist. Your spouse does not define you. Others aren't there to limit you. My next poem is entitled The Descent of Women. We are women and we are remarkable. We are the daughters of grandmothers who braved conquest and crusade, sickness and shipwreck. We are the daughters of mothers whose ingenuity ensured their daughters' survival. We are the daughters of mothers who survived. We are the daughters of immigrants surviving hunger and hurricane, tempest and twister. We are the daughters of farmers and factory workers, saints and sinners. We are the daughters of great rulers, writers, scientists, and doctors. We are women and we are remarkable. We are the embodiment of the primordial goddess Gaia, breathing life into the world. We are the standard bearer of the warrior goddess Freya, unafraid to lead the battle. We are the paramour descendant of the goddess Venus, bringing love and romance. We are the women who fight for equity and education and healthcare for all children. We are the women who support women who have less so that one day we may all have more. We are the women who lift up her spiritual sisters instead of tearing them down. We are the daughters of mothers who breathed life, fought battles, brought love, struggled, and succeeded, and we are remarkable.
Indeed, we are. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Now, last but not least, we will hear from Rabbi Margaret Frish Klein, and we're so delighted you're here in person.
We weren't sure that was going to happen. We actually taped everything in advance in case you had to drop them in.
We did. I'm so thrilled you're here.
Ladders. Women don't climb ladders, they said. It isn't safe, you know. They do. They absolutely do. They climb step ladders, they climb paint ladders, extension ladders, A-frame ladders, library ladders. They climb corporate ladders. And while they are on top, they smash glass ceilings in sports, in business, in politics, in medicine, even in religion, in so much more. They even climb Jacob's ladders, reaching to the sky, touching the very vault of heaven, finding God and bringing the presence down to us. The next one is a very recent one. We celebrated the 100th anniversary of the bat mitzvah in this country just this past weekend. And this year we are also celebrating the 50th anniversary of women's ordination here in the States. There's more to that story, but that's what the dedication is. It's called Voices. I shall sing to Adonai, chanted Miriam. A voice cried out, mourned Rachel, whose children were no more. If you give me a child, I will dedicate him to you. Hannah wept and prayed in her heart. Sitting under a palm tree, judged Deborah. No, said Vashti, I will not come. Save my life and the life of my people, demanded Esther. Every Friday night we read, she opened her lips with wisdom and the law of kindness is on her tongue. So says Proverbs, or maybe it's how Abraham eulogized Sarah. Women have always prayed at the shores of the sea, in the wilderness, in the women's court at the Holy Temple, in their homes and on their way, wherever they are. We have their words, their songs, their laments, their hopes, their techinas in Yiddish, in Ladino, in Hebrew, in every language they speak. And yet, a woman's voice is dangerous, alluring. It can't be heard. It shouldn't be heard. Even today, some groups teach this. Women don't have to pray, except they do. Women are exempt, except they're not. Women can't read Torah, except they can. I can give you chapter and verse. But why? Why should we? Why do we still need to prove ourselves, to justify ourselves? Why are we made to feel that our voices are less authentic, less real, less important, less necessary? No, rather, I will use my voice to make this world a better place, to speak out against injustice, to cry out, to sing out, to open my mouth with kindness. Okay, someday I pray that. With all my being to praise God. As the psalmist said, what profit is there if I'm silenced? What benefit if I go to my grave? Like Miriam and Rachel, Hannah and Deborah and Esther, like Bruria and Gluckel, Osnat and Regina, like countless women in every generation, my voice must be heard. Our voices will be heard.
Well, all I have to say is, women, you are amazing. And thank you so very, very much for your participation. And I hope this is not the last time I gather you all together, be it in Zoom or in person. And if you're not already a member of our first Monday of the month poetry writing group at Gilborden Public Library, please join us. And anybody who's watching, you're all welcome too.